Dear students, I am Archana Dikshit from CC Shah Sarvajanik English High School. I welcome you all for the science class. Till now we had completed the chapter 6, that was about the life processes, in which we understood how the digestion, excretion, nutrition, our respiration are correlated to each other. Now all the processes, if you observe them, uh, systematically, you will find that all the activities take place in a very systematic way. Means they all take place in a very controlled form, and there is coordination among them. So this coordination and control on the life processes is actually due to some systems in our body, and these are the centers to control and coordinate all the life processes. There are different organs. Let us see that there are different organ systems in our body, and remember, all the organs depend on each other to perform the functions in an absolute proper manner. Now the activities that occur outside our body or inside, they all require proper coordination between these organs. We will take few examples to understand. Suppose when we eat food, then first we see the food, our nose smells it, our hands bring the food to the mouth, teeth chew them and initiate for digestion. So you have the idea that in the mouth, that is about the buccal cavity, in the mouth saliva is secreted, and this saliva is secreted by the salivary glands. The saliva remains in proper amount only, which is required for the digestion. That proper amount has to be secreted from the salivary gland, that is controlled by some coordinating centers. The food is converted into very soft form so that it can pass through the food pipe. That is also done by the coordinating center. So if we see minutest details of the life processes, we will find that someone is controlling them. Certain things are happening in a very systematic way. So this happens due to the coordinating centers. Now all these activities occur in a proper and systematic manner and in controlled form, that we conclude. Now what we conclude? We conclude that all the activities occur in a very proper systematic manner and in a very controlled form. Even if we observe them in the minutest detail, we find them in a very systematic form. So now we are going to study about these centers are what. In animal tissues, control and coordination are provided by two types of tissues. One is called nervous tissues and the other are muscular tissues. But remember that sponge is the only multicellular organism where the nervous tissues are absent. They are not found. Otherwise, all the animals, including human beings, if any change in the environment happens, then to that change organism responds and reacts. So environmental factor are called the stimulus, and plural is stimuli. So environmental factors are the stimuli, that is plural. So any change in the environment to which an organism responds or reacts is called a stimulus or stimuli. Now we will see which terms are used. For example, stimuli is detected by a group of cells called receptors. Suppose we touch the hot plate, then we experience the hot characteristic of the environment. This hot characteristics, or you can say hotness of the plate, is experienced by the skin of the hand. So that is called the receptors. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, these contain the specific receptors. Animals have 6 types of receptors: photoreceptors, phonoreceptors, olfactoreceptors, thermoreceptors, thigmoreceptors, and gustatory receptors. Photoreceptors means the tissues which respond to the light. For example, eyes are connected in photoreceptors. Phonoreceptors, the tissues which work for hearing, like ears. Olfactoreceptors for smelling. Thermoreceptors for temperature. Thigmoreceptors for coming in contact with any surface. Gustatory receptors for the tongue. So these are all receptors which can respond to the stimulus or stimuli. So stimuli is detected by the group of cells called receptors. I think till now it is clear to you. In short, if we see, then what we had done till now, control and coordination in our body is play a very important role, because all the organs depend on each other to perform any function. So all these activities occur in a proper and systematic manner and in a controlled form. Now in animal tissue we have taken mainly 2 tissues are there, nervous tissues and muscular tissues. Then we did about the stimulus and the receptors. Now in human being we will do in detail. In humans, control and coordination is possible by 2 systems, that is nervous system and endocrine system. Endocrine system is also called hormonal system. You are familiar with the term hormones. Nervous system is made up of special kind of cells which are called nerve cells. So all multicellular organisms have the nerve cells which are called neurons. Neurons. Remember, neuron and nephron are different. Nephron are in excretory system. Now you know this also, that nerve cell is the longest cell. In human beings, all the parts of the body are connected to the brain through nerve cells. So that means you can understand there is a network of nerve cell or neurons in the human body, or similarly in animals also. Similarly, spinal cord is also connected to all parts of the body through nerve cells. Thus, nerve cell is considered to be structural and functional unit of nervous system, because you understand the nerve cell is the smallest unit of which the nervous system is made up of. Now, nerve cell or neuron is the longest cell that you know. Structure of the nerve cell that you have done last year, but let us revise that the structure of the neuron or nerve cell. You can see this is the nerve cell. Here center part is called the cytone or cell body. Then from cell body there are various fibers which arise. They are called dendrites. One of the dendrite gets elongated, that is called axon, and there is ending for it. This nerve endings you can see they are also branched. Now on the axon there is one sheet layer, SHEETH, one sheet layer which is actually three layered sheet is there. Now cell body or cytone, as you can see, there is a big nucleus, large central nucleus in it, and apart from the nucleus it has cytoplasm. Its cytoplasm has the mitochondria, Golgi body or Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, that I have written as ER, microtubules, etc. So apart from the nucleus it is having mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, microtubules, endoplasmic reticulum in this. But we are showing only the nucleus here though. Now dendrites are thread-like structures, as you can see, and then one of the dendrites get elongated and forms the axon. Now nerve cells or neurons can also be of three types. One is called sensory, the other is called motor, and the third one is called relay. Sensory nerve cells carry messages from the receptors towards brain, or it can also carry towards the spinal cord. That means, what do you understand? Sensory neuron is for taking the message to the brain or spinal cord. Remember. Then comes motor nerve cells. Motor nerve cells take away messages from the brain or spinal cord towards muscles and glands. So you can see that both of them are opposite in their function. Then lastly comes the relay neurons. Relay neuron actually act as the joint nerve between the sensory and motor. That from sensory nerve the message goes to motor nerve through relay neurons. That is why they are called relay neurons also. As you must have heard about relay race, in which one gives to the other. Similarly here. So this way all the three nerve cells work. Now there is a gap between the two nerve cells. That gap is called synapse. SYNAPSE. Remember that between the two nerve cells there is a gap. That gap is called synapse, and the message passes through that gap, the synapse. All signals travel through synapse. One more thing to remember, that all kind of nerve cells pass through nerve impulse pass through nerve cell in one direction only. That means if any message is passing through the sensory nerve cell, then it will go to in one direction only. It will not spread in other direction. Though there is a network of nerve cells, but it travels in one direction. Now let us see how the message is passed. The nerve cell is connected to a sensory receptor. Then it is called sensory neuron. Sensory receptor, I told you, they are all, like for example, we take the skin for the example. Now at one end all these nerve cells are under our skin, and then they receive the message and converts it into electrochemical signal. Electrochemical signal passes through axon, reaches finally to the brain or spinal cord. That means from the receptor to the sensory nerve cell. Now in sensory nerve cell also, from the receptor to the dendrites, to the cell body, to the axon, to the synapse, then further the dendrites, and this way it passes and goes to the brain or spinal cord. It is in the form of electrochemical signal. Then through relay nerve, message goes to motor neuron, which brings it to the effector organ. For example, if we touch a thorn and we remove our hand, so removing hand will be controlled by the muscles. So muscles will be considered as the effector organ. Nervous system in human beings is divided into two main parts: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system is also called as CNS and peripheral nervous system is called PNS. Central nervous system comprises brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system comprises nerves arising from brain and spinal cord, connects to the whole body. Now the very important, and you have the idea also about the reflex action and reflex arc. Reflex action is very automatic kind of action. Reflex action can be defined as a spontaneous, automatic and mechanical response to a stimulus controlled by the spinal cord without involvement of the brain. Brain gets the message, but later. First the action comes. For example, if you touch the hot plate, you will remove your hand automatically. So this automation, this kind of action is called the reflex action. For example, coughing, we don't have any control over it. So that is the example of reflex action. Always reflex action takes place without the information to the brain. It is the response goes to the stimulus from the spinal cord, but later on the brain comes to know about it. The pathway followed by sensory and motor nerves in a reflex action is called reflex arc. So reflex action and reflex arc. Reflex arc can be defined as the pathway followed by sensory and motor nerves in a reflex action. So it is clear to you. Again I am repeating the definition. A reflex action can be defined as spontaneous, automatic and mechanical response to a stimulus controlled by the spinal cord without involvement of the brain. But later on the brain comes to know. Now example of reflex action is sneezing or coughing, watering of the mouth, blinking of eyes, removal of hand from touching thorn, withdrawal of hand from hot plate if it is touched. So these are the examples of reflex action. Now there is a flow chart in which you can see stimulus, environmental factor, that is responded by the receptor organ. So stimulus is experienced by the receptor organ. From receptor organ it goes to sensory neuron. In sensory neuron you can see dendrite, cell body, axon. Then This is in the form of electrochemical signal, so it passes through the synapse. Then it goes to the dendrite cell body axon, and from there it goes to the effector organ, muscle or gland. Acetylcholine makes chemical message. That is the name of the substance which makes the chemical message. Now this was about the reflex action and reflex arc. First we will do about the central nervous system that comprises human brain and spinal cord. Human brain is a main coordinating center of the body. It is only controlling all the life processes. Apart from our physical actions, all emotions and thinking process, which are very complex, controlled by the human brain. So you can understand human brain controls the physical actions as well as all the emotions, thinking process also. All the informations from all parts of the body and brain and spinal cord respond accordingly. So understood this? Then all the informations from all parts of the body come to the brain and spinal cord and they respond accordingly. The central nervous system and peripheral nervous system, they complement each other. Now about the human brain, it is highly developed organ. It remains in a bony box called cranium, that is also called skull. Its weight is 1200 gram to 1400 gram. It is covered by three membranes called meninges for protection. Outer tough protective layer is formed of fibrous tissues called dura mater. The cerebrospinal fluid is found in between meninges. So they act as the cushions. So they protect the brain. And also in brain cavities, this fluid is found so that brain can be protected from any kind of shock, because brain is a soft organ. Brain can be divided into three main parts: forebrain, FORE, forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain or hindbrain, anything you can pronounce. Forebrain includes the forehead. So anterior region of the brain is called forebrain. It has olfactory lobes which act as the center of the smell, and it has cerebrum, which is the largest part of the brain, is divided into right and left cerebral hemispheres. Figure you can see in your textbook, it is given, and from that you have to learn also. For example, this you have to do, well labeled diagram, this you have to learn, and this also you have to learn. Don't think it is difficult, it is very easy to learn. You can learn it easily. So you understand olfactory lobes and cerebrum. Then a thick band of nerve fibers connect the cerebral hemispheres called corpus callosum. So this names you can remember. What is corpus callosum? Actually it is a thick band made up of nerve fibers which connect cerebral hemispheres, because it is divided into right and left cerebral hemispheres. Cerebrum is divided into right, left cerebral hemispheres. They are connected with the help of corpus callosum. Now cerebrum is the largest part of the brain and it controls thinking, learning, memorizing, reasoning, intelligence, all factors. It also controls emotions and speech also. It helps in seeing the things, all voluntary actions. Voluntary actions means which we do on our own will. And emotions like love, hatred, and admiration, controlled by it. Then next comes about the diencephalon. Diencephalon consists of pituitary gland, thalamus gland and hypothalamus. So it controls temperature, sleep, hunger and thirst. So that means it is easy for you to remember. See, the four, first of all you have to say about the what is brain. So structure of the brain you can explain. Fore, mid and hind brain. Now forebrain has mainly olfactory lobes, center of the smell. Cerebrum divided into two right and left hemispheres. So this you have to write. Then diencephalon, that mainly consists of all kinds of glands. These glands are the endocrine glands that we will study later. And it controls temperature, sleep, hunger, thirst, etc. So this you can learn easily. Point wise I have given here. Now midbrain. Midbrain actually connects forebrain to the hindbrain. Midbrain has the optic lobes concerned with the vision. Means visionary effect comes from this optic lobes. That is in the midbrain. Now hindbrain again play a very important role. As you see, hindbrain has cerebellum, pons and medulla oblongata, three parts. Cerebellum maintains the equilibrium postures. We walk, we run. Suppose children dance. So this all is body movements are controlled by cerebellum and they remain very steady and coordinated. For example, you do the cycling. So that is controlled by cerebellum only. All body postures are controlled by cerebellum. Next comes pons. Pons helps in respiration. Then medulla oblongata, this is the lowermost part of the brain which connects the spinal cord. It contains cardiac center, center for swallowing, sneezing, coughing and vomiting. It also controls the involuntary actions. Means inside the body actions takes place. Generally they are controlled by it. So this way medulla oblongata controls that. So I think it is very much clear to you because I have explained, you have mainly in your standard, 10th standard, you have to mainly remember the parts of the brain and their functions and somewhat the structure of the brain. So this much you have to do. So I think it is clear to you. Once more, if you go through the matter, you will understand it clearly. Okay. Thank you students. Have a nice day.